So if you guys are new to following me, or if you're just stopping by, I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Kim Greco, and I own a dog training business called Paws and Possibilities, and I'm the creator of our online dog training program called Manners Matter. And this is Boomer. He's my dog. I've had him for about maybe 8 months or so, and he is 2.5 years old. And he is very, very large. So I wanted to use him to demonstrate this rollover with you today because it's a little harder when the dog is bigger. Now, he actually knows the behavior, so it's going to be a little challenging for me to break it down into the beginning steps because he might actually anticipate what I'm doing and just offer it. But I'm going to try to demonstrate with him on place first so that he won't think we're rolling over. So the first thing I do is I get a dog I lure them with a treat and I use the clicker. So I have a treat in my hand, which I don't now, but I basically just teach them to follow the treat with their nose when I move my hand around. Then the goal is that I can get them to turn their head. Well, first of all, most dogs will be more comfortable rolling one direction or the other. And most dogs are not equally comfortable rolling both directions. So you kind of have to figure out with your dog first which way they like to roll better. So for him, he rolls clockwise. So if he were in front of me like this, he would be rolling towards the camera. So what I would do is I actually work a little bit with taking the treat from this hand, and I want to, only so far, I want to kind of like feel like I'm pushing his nose, even though I'm not actually pushing it, he's just following the treat. But very early on, I want to actually loop my hand around his head this way, because the whole majority of the training is I want to feel as if I'm pulling him in the direction I want to go, as opposed to pushing him in the direction I want to go. There's no pulling or pushing, it's just what you're doing with the treat. You want him to feel like he's coming towards the treat the whole time. So if he's going to be going that way to come towards the treat, I actually need this hand to loop around his head and neck to get to his nose on this side. If that makes sense. You're so good. Good boy. Right? So I kind of loop around. It's a little awkward at first, but it makes it easier the further along they get. So now, if you can picture a straight line from his shoulder blade, now we have anatomy class, right? From his shoulder blade here, straight line, diagonally back to the far hip, the opposite side of the hip that you're starting on. That's kind of the line I want to anticipate that I'll be tracking my hand. I will, instead of staying in front of him because he's so big, I will actually move my body around behind him. Stop. Good boy. So I would start this way. I would go diagonally up the shoulder blade. Then literally I would move this way so that I would feel like I could pull him to finish the rollover over here. That will make more sense when I show you with him. The very first step when you get your dog straight down is that you want the shoulder blade that will be against the ground, click and give your dog a treat for their shoulder blade being against the ground. You can stay at that stage for a week or 2 weeks, however long you want. Don't rush this behavior. If your dog is at all nervous or worried about being upside down or vulnerable, this can be a really difficult behavior to train. So first step is you're clicking and treating for the shoulder blade being flush against the ground. The next step is that you're looking for his hips to shift. So instead of, if he were to go straight down and his hips are even, you want the hip that's on the far side of the direction he's rolling to tuck. You want his hips to tuck. Once his hips tuck, you can click and treat. You can stay at that phase for a week or more, right? So front shoulder tips, rear hips tips, that's it. Then all you need from that point is duration on how long he will hold the lure or follow you. And the more uncomfortable or more challenging this behavior is for the dog, the longer you should stay at the beginning foundation steps. Down. I just said down, but that's a good note. I don't always say down when I'm training rollover from the beginning, because if you say down and then do rollover, and then you say down and do rollover, down and do rollover, you could, in the process of training rollover, lose your down. Because when you say down, your dog will be anticipating rollover, and you could actually break a pretty good behavior by doing that. So I get my dog to lie down by luring them down, but I don't usually say the word. So the very first step is this shoulder flush on the ground. And I'm going to do that by, this is how I'm going to weirdly loop my arm over his shoulder. See how my elbow went up? And that's, remember, that's so I'll be able to kind of pull him the whole time. Good. So he gave us the whole side, but that's partly because he already knows this. But if he didn't already know it, he would be more inclined to just put his shoulder down before his hips. So you can see how you could get to that point, right? Fast forward your dog. Let me see, actually, what if I try to go the other way? He might not do his hips. He doesn't really roll the other way very well. So I can have a treat in my hand and have him lure it, and he can lick it, but I don't give it to him until I click. So this is more accurate because he doesn't roll this way. So I'm just trying to show you, good, if the dog is uncomfortable, then it's harder that way. I'll show you on the other side, because I think that's important. It would literally be like this. And that's kind of realistic because he doesn't roll that direction. Good. So here's the angle across the shoulder blade, back to the hips.